Asterisk, I'm going back to my ex. My wife told me after 15 years of marriage. Her voice was sharp, but her smirk cut sharper. And I'm taking half of everything. I didn't argue, didn't shout. I just nodded. And maybe that was what unsettled her most, because the very next morning, her sister called me in a panic. My God, what did you tell her? But before I explain how my wife thought she was playing me, and ended up playing herself, you need to understand how we got here. You'll want popcorn for this one. It starts in 2008. I was 44 then, fresh CPA, working in a mid-sized accounting firm in Chicago. Decent pay, a studio apartment that cost too much, and more ramen than I'd admit to anyone. That was my millennial math. Scrimp now, save for a house later. My cubicle neighbor, Tyler, would become my best friend. A laid-back Wisconsin guy who somehow made auditing tolerable. After work, we'd grab coffee, and he'd tell me divorce stories, not as a lawyer, but as a forensic accountant cleaning up the wreckage. He had seen it all. Every week, he'd say, stirring his third coffee of the day. I watch guys lose businesses they built from nothing because they kept everything in joint accounts. They think marriage means protection. Then the wife walks, and she takes half of everything she never touched. And these weren't just stories. Tyler worked real cases. Software entrepreneurs losing companies they coded alone. Contractors gutted by wives who'd never swung a hammer. Doctors forced to pay alimony on practices they built working 80-hour weeks while their spouse was at yoga. Dude, you wouldn't believe what guys miss, Tyler said once over a late-night diner burger. They'll spend months researching a car, but never read their own prenup. Then they're shocked when a joint account doesn't mean what they think it does. Tyler's take was simple. Most divorces weren't about love or betrayal. They were about money and control. Whoever controlled the paperwork controlled the outcome. Everything else was noise. At first, I thought he was cynical. Then I saw the truth firsthand. That same year, my brother Aaron had his life wrecked. He'd built a contracting business from the ground up, owned 3 rental properties, had everything lined up. His wife Isabel seemed sweet and supportive, until she wasn't. She found herself with her Pilates instructor, and when she left, she didn't just walk away. She walked with half his assets, alimony, and their house. The cruelest cut? Aaron had security cameras on his job sites. Those cameras caught Isabel with her instructor in the very house Aaron was renovating for her. The timestamp showed her with him in their future bedroom while Aaron was out buying the cabinets she'd requested. When Aaron's lawyer showed the footage in court, Isabel's attorney spun it. The video didn't prove she cheated. It proved Aaron was emotionally unavailable. The judge bought it. Isabel got the house. Aaron got 6 months living out his office. And she moved the instructor right in, even posting Facebook pictures of their new beginning. I'll never forget Aaron's face as we carried his boxes out of the house he paid for. I trusted her completely, he said. Never thought I needed protection from my own wife. That night, Tyler and I made a pact. We called it the Never Again Protocol. If either of us ever got married, the other would help build a real financial structure, because we'd seen too many good men blindsided by the people they trusted most. 3 years later, I met Maya at a company holiday party. Gorgeous, funny, and, to my surprise, genuinely impressed that I liked my boring accounting job. We clicked instantly. And yeah, I fell hard. But I also remembered Aaron, sitting alone in that office. And I remember the files on Tyler's desk. Case after case of men who thought love was enough to protect them. So, while I built a life with Maya, I also built protection. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I'd learned the hard truth. Trust and preparation aren't opposites. With Tyler's help, I designed it like a tax strategy. Layers of entities. Clear documentation. A clean separation between personal and business assets. Most income and investment stayed under my name, with entities for properties. And Maya signed documents. Standard-looking estate planning liability forms that quietly defined what was mine and what stayed separate. All legal, all above board, invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. Tyler had one rule. Every signature needs a reason that isn't divorce. So I made it about taxes, about liability, about estate planning. Never about fear, never about her. For 12 years, those documents sat quietly like smoke detectors, invisible, waiting. And then, 15 years into marriage, I found out why I needed them. It was our anniversary, a Tuesday night. We went back to the Italian place downtown, the one where we had our third date, back when she thought my financial planning was cute instead of controlling. She wore the blue dress I bought her 2 years ago. I was hopeful. Maybe we'd reconnect. Maybe even laugh like we used to. She didn't waste time. No warm-up. No gentle lead-in. Just a clean stab between bites of risotto she'd already complained about. "Evan, I need to tell you something important," she said. I nodded, bracing myself. "I'm going back to Dean," she said. At first, I thought I'd misheard. Dean. Her ex. She didn't stop. "I don't think we should continue. You're a good husband, but I'm bored. Honestly, Dean has always been my true love." I was still processing when she twisted the knife. "I never really loved you, Evan. I just settled." And just like that, 15 years of marriage ended in under 3 minutes. She'd rehearsed it. I could see it in her face, the way she delivered every line like she wanted to explode. Because that's what usually happens. Husbands beg. They yell. They break down in public. They give their wives a messy scene they can retell to family as proof of being controlling or unstable. That's the outcome she wanted. But I didn't give her the show. I set my fork down, wiped my mouth, looked at her calmly, and simply said, "Then you should leave tonight. No bargaining. No working it out. Just go." She thought she had me cornered. Thought she could use our daughter as leverage. Thought I'd fold the way husbands usually do. But I kept it simple. Just logistics. If you don't love me, the door exists. Her face glitched. That wasn't in her script. She wanted tears, a meltdown, some big begging scene she could parade around later. Instead, she got a decision. You could almost see the gears jam inside her head. The drive home was silent, except for her shaky breathing. Every few miles she glanced over, waiting for me to break, waiting for the scene she'd rehearsed. It never came. Tyler's line kept running through my mind. The calm one controls the situation. At the house, she put on her show, stomping around, throwing clothes into suitcases like she was auditioning for a soap opera. Calls on speakerphone, so I could hear Dean's gravelly voice. Forced laughs. Every move designed to bait me. And then, her big closer, dragging the last suitcase to the door, smirk painted across her face. "I guess I'll finally get half of everything," she said, as if she cracked some code I was too dumb to understand. I leaned against the kitchen doorframe and said nothing. Sometimes silence hurts more than any line you could throw. What she didn't know, what she'd never bothered to ask in 15 years, was that I'd been preparing in the background. 7 years earlier, when she started getting distant, spending more time glued to her phone and less time with me, I quietly activated the never again protocol. She walked out that night with her chin high, like she'd just scored match point. I went to my study, pulled out the file I hoped I'd never touch, and opened it. See, auditors learn to spot fraud years before it hits the books. Marriage isn't so different. It's a partnership with assets and obligations. And when Maya announced she was breaching that partnership, she thought she could just grab a cut of what she never built. She thought she'd cornered me. But the truth? I'd mapped the room years ago. The house felt strange once she left. Quiet, like a background had been cut. I sat in my study for exactly 13 minutes. Yes, I timed these things, just listening to the silence, wondering what Tyler would say when I called. She actually said that on your anniversary dinner? I imagined him laughing. That's ice cold. Who drops that over salmon? And then it got better. She really thought she was walking away with half, because we lived in Illinois, because she believed marriage meant automatic 50-50. She never once tried to understand how our money really worked. Never questioned a single form she signed. The post-nup, the refinance papers. She barely glanced at them. Called it my paranoid paperwork while watching reality TV. That post-nup was a foundation of the never again protocol. Tyler had drafted it like a corporate merger. Airtight, technical, legally bulletproof. Buried in the language was a clause that redefined everything. From that day forward, anything either of us earned or acquired stayed separate property unless explicitly combined in writing, which meant everything I built, saved, and invested was mine. The house, the cars, the accounts. She had access, but not ownership. Behind my laptop's vanilla investment tracker was Tyler's nuclear option, a network of accounts, LLCs, portfolios, tight enough to make a corporate lawyer nod in respect. My salary funneled into a business entity, then paid me distributions that funded the household account, the one she saw. Everything else, investments, real estate, retirement, lived in places she never knew existed. It wasn't hiding. It was structure. Structure she'd sign off on. One click set the sequence in motion. House in my name alone, her signature confirming it. Bank accounts, mostly individual, with her listed only as an authorized user. Her car, the BMW she flaunted, leased through my business. That hour she bragged about, all mine. The joint checking she thought she'd drain in the morning, $3,000 for bills. The real money was invisible to her. I drafted one new line. Spouse voluntarily vacated marital residence with stated intent to dissolve marriage. Implementing asset protection protocols per signed agreements. Signed, scanned, uploaded to my lawyer's emergency inbox. By the time her ride pulled away from the curb, she was already a former household member, with no claim to what she thought she'd just won. She didn't know it yet. She was probably at Dean's celebrating, patting herself on the back. The next morning, I was making coffee, my first truly peaceful breakfast in years, when my phone buzzed. Not Maya. She still had no clue the financial reality check was coming. It was her sister, Paige. Now Paige is basically Maya with a law degree and double the entitlement. She'd walked away from her own marriage with her ex-husband's dental practice, the house, and enough alimony to bankroll her female empowerment coaching. She'd been in Maya's ear for years, preaching the gospel of smart women maximize settlements. Her text started at 8 a.m. Heard about you and Maya. She deserves better. Hope you're ready to pay what you owe. 15 years wasted on your selfishness. Time to face the consequences for your emotional abuse. I didn't respond. She was fishing for a screenshot. By 10 a.m., my phone rang. Paige. Her voice sharp, professional. Smug. Evan, we need to discuss your situation. No, Paige. We don't. That was my answer the second she started her little speech. She puffed up, all legal posture. I'm representing Maya. Any attempts to hide or transfer marital assets will have serious consequences. We're talking criminal charges. I almost laughed. Paige, maybe read the post-nup before making threats you can't back up. Silence. Then, like music to my ears. What post-nuptial agreement? Bingo. Maya hadn't told her. Probably because Maya never understood it herself. The one your sister signed in 2018, filed with the county clerk. Public record. Should be easy enough for a lawyer to find. Long pause. You could hear her brain working. Was I bluffing, or had she just stepped into something sticky? She tried to recover. Any postnuptial sign under duress or without proper counsel can be challenged. Good luck proving duress on paperwork she signed while watching reality TV. I said, there's a notary witness and a timestamp from our home security system. Footage of her laughing about my ridiculous obsession with paperwork. Another pause. Longer this time. Then Paige snapped back. Okay, we'll see. Maya's staying with me while we sort this out. And Evan, you picked the wrong family to mess with. They love to call themselves strong women. Don't back down from bullies, right? We'll see about that. 20 minutes later, Tyler called, laughing so hard he barely got words out. Dude, Paige is representing Maya. This is perfect. How is that perfect? I asked. Because she's incompetent. She thinks she's the smartest one in the room, but she cuts corners, bullies, and rushes. She'll make mistakes. You've got 7 years of documentation and a structure she's never even seen before. She'll file, sure, but she's bringing a template divorce to a corporate tax fight. She's not built for this. He was right. And that afternoon, Paige made her first mistake. A big one. She filed a temporary restraining order. claimed I was hiding assets and blocking Maya from survival funds. The paperwork read like she'd copy-pasted from a domestic violence template, swapped in financial language, and hit submit. She wrote that I was isolating the victim through economic control. Never mentioned Maya left voluntarily. Never mentioned the agreements she signed. She assumed joint property. She assumed I was locking her sister out of accounts. Victor, my lawyer, called that night, amused. Evan, I just read Paige Calder's TTRO. She alleges concealment, but completely ignores the postnup and the separate property records. Either this is strategy or pure incompetence. Given its Paige, I'm betting incompetence. He chuckled. It's about to get expensive for them. I'm filing everything. 7 years of statements, the postnup, separate property documentation, even social posts showing premeditation. The judge will see she filed a motion without doing her homework. Best case for them? TTRO dismissed. Worst? Judge sanctions Paige and awards you fees. That's the gift of Paige being Maya's lawyer. She leads with emotion, assumes I'm the boring husband about to be steamrolled by the liberated wife, what she never saw coming. 15 years of preparation by a man who made it his business to know exactly how to beat people like her. And then came Wednesday morning. Maya strutted into our bank branch like she'd just won the lottery. Paige by her side, both of them dressed for court instead of routine banking. Maya had gone full performance. Fresh highlights, designer bag, probably floated on a credit card. The whole independent woman costume she'd been rehearsing in Paige's guest bathroom mirror. I need to access our joint savings and transfer funds to my new personal account, she told the teller, sliding her license like it was a VIP pass. Brady, the poor teller, college kid, 6 months into the job, typed, frowned, typed again. His face said it all. This is above my pay grade. He mumbled, I'm going to get my supervisor. Entered Thomas, the branch manager. He led them into his office and dropped a file on the desk. Thicker than Paige's entire divorce resume. Mrs. Whitman, I'd like to review a few documents you've signed over the years. Inside the file, notarized forms, all in Maya's handwriting. 2018 account restructuring, removing joint ownership from the primary accounts, leaving her with access to just the household checking. A beneficiary update she initialed, confirming she understood the difference between access and ownership. And the dagger, a customer survey from 2 years ago where she wrote, in her own words, that she appreciated her husband handling all financial matters because she found money boring and trusted him completely. Thomas told me later, she stared at her own signature like it had betrayed her. This has to be fraud, she snapped. I never agreed to this. But there it was, her handwriting, her signature, notarized, time-stamped. That's when Maya lost it. You can't just steal my money. I was his wife for 15 years. I cooked, I decorated, I gave him my best years. Thomas, calm as ever, kept his professional voice. These accounts were individually owned. You had access privileges, not ownership. Those privileges were revoked per signed agreements. Paige's face turned crimson. This is financial abuse. We'll contact the banking commission. You're welcome to, Thomas said, tapping the stack of documents. Everything is in order. Maya tried every card she had left. First, the accusations. He manipulated her, tricked her, made sure she never understood what she was signing. Thomas slid the survey back across the desk, her own words in ink staring back at her. I prefer my husband to handle the finances. I don't want to be bothered with it. She had written it, signed it, even laughed about it. Begging didn't work. Crying didn't work. Even the desperate plea, you don't understand what kind of man he is, fell flat. By the time she and Paige walked out of that bank, they weren't just empty-handed. They were rattled. For the first time, Maya realized that assumptions and legal reality lived on different planets. And the sting only deepened when Thomas called after them, voice polite but firm. There's nothing to fight here, ma'am. Have a good day. That night, Tyler called me laughing. His wife had already heard the story from a friend who worked at the branch. They were calling it the Great Bank Meltdown of 2024. Maya had believed that being a wife meant automatic ownership, half of everything, No questions asked. 15 years, and she'd never once stopped to wonder how things were actually structured. By afternoon, she had shifted gears. Shock turned into defiance. In her mind, this was just a temporary setback, one she could fix with enough outrage and attitude. After all, she still had Dean's place, the love nest, her little, authentic self headquarters, the downtown apartment with no budgets, no 50-50 splits, no talk of who paid for what. It was a backdrop she'd been curating online all week. Posts about self-discovery, about living her truth, about finally finding freedom. She probably thought she could spin this into a comeback. Drive across town, write a post about financial abuse, launch herself as some kind of survivor influencer. Maybe even open that Etsy shop she kept talking about. But when she got there, taped to the front door was a yellow sheet of paper. Lease termination. Unauthorized long-term guest. Vacate within 48 hours or face eviction. At first, she must have thought it was a mistake. Wrong door, bad timing. But the fine print didn't lie. Dean's incredible deal on rent wasn't luck. It was a favor from property manager I'd worked with years ago when I started buying buildings through shell companies. Chicago real estate is a small world if you know the right accountants. And in one of those twists no screenwriter could make up, that building, it ultimately rolled up to a holding company I controlled. Dean breaking his lease by letting Maya live there wasn't some grand trap. It was karma. And the moment the notice hit the door, everything started unraveling. Dean, caught midday in yesterday's T-shirt, barely reacted. "Babe, what's wrong now?" he asked, soda in hand, expecting some low-level drama. When she shoved the notice at him, demanding answers, he read it twice, then went pale. "Wait, you're telling me your husband owns this place?" From there, the cracks showed fast. Dean retreated into his lease, looking for his own escape, while Maya pounded on doors and reframed reality like she always did. She screamed that everyone was against her, that I was stealing her life, that Dean was a coward for not fighting. Neighbors peeked out. Phones came up. Within hours, her meltdown was online, circulating in local groups, reshared hundreds of times. Maya had become a meme, without even realizing it. Page called next, furious. "This is harassment, Evan. We're filing protective orders." But there was nothing to file. Dean's apartment wasn't Maya's home. She wasn't on the lease. She was just an unauthorized guest, and now she was out. The next day, she tried her old key at my house. It didn't work. I'd changed the locks the morning after she left. Legal, documented, airtight. She pounded on the door, rang the bell until the neighbors stared, yelling that I couldn't just lock her out of her own home. The cops came. Officer Herrera listened to her story, then read the paperwork I handed him. Post-nup, property records, signed agreements. Calm as could be, he told her, "Ma'am, according to this, you left voluntarily. This property isn't in your name. Right now, you're trespassing." She refused to accept it. But the officer didn't waver. Leave or be arrested. And so she left, but not before screaming down the cul-de-sac that I was stealing her life. Later, Tyler texted me after watching her next-door video. "She's gone off the rails. How's it feel, winning a game she didn't even know she was playing?" I told him the truth. It felt satisfying, but satisfaction didn't last long, because just after midnight, my phone lit up. Hannah, my daughter. I'd been waiting for this. 20 years old, too smart to swallow either parent's version without questions. "Dad," she said softly. "Hey, kiddo. Figured you'd call." And in that moment, the game was no longer about legal wins or losses. It was about the one person who mattered most. When Hannah called, her voice was heavy with doubt. "She says you stole everything, Dad. That you planned this for years just to ruin her life. Is it true?" I leaned back, steadying myself before answering. "Do me a favor, kiddo. Open your Dropbox, the folder with your college A-Docs. There's a file in there called Family Financial Structure. I put it there when you turned 18, estate planning, inheritance, the whole map." "Dad, I don't want to be in the middle." "You're not," I told her. "This isn't about taking sides. It's about facts, not feelings. Your mom signed a post-nup 7 years ago. What's happening now? It started the moment she chose to walk out for another man, not because I destroyed her. The line went quiet. She was weighing it. The bank thing, is Mom really broke? No. She has the same access she always had. What she doesn't have is access to accounts that were never hers. That's the difference. Marriage doesn't automatically merge every asset, Hannah, especially when both parties sign paperwork saying otherwise. Your mom chose to blow up our family. What she doesn't get to do is wreck our finances and play the victim when the fallout comes. Another pause. Then the question I knew was coming. Dad, did you know about Dean? I exhaled. I suspected, but I didn't have proof until she posted it herself. Posted what? Check her Instagram. The celebration photo with Dean? That was 5 hours before our anniversary dinner. While I was at the florist picking up roses, she was already out in public with him. Hannah's breath caught. She posted about Dean before she even told you she was leaving? Exactly. She was documenting her exit while still playing the role of wife. No goodbye, no warning, just a new life launched online. I knew Hannah would need time to process, to sift through facts and feelings. That's who she was. My forensic instincts paired with her mother's social radar. A dangerous combination for anyone running a con. That night, she went full audit mode. Not just Instagram. She dug through Facebook, Snapchat, Venmo, text threads. What she found painted a story in neon. Dean's payments labeled as groceries and gas lined up with expensive dinners, hotel stays, weekend trips. Maya had been test driving her new relationship while married, using my credit cards to fund dates with him, even erasing me bit by bit from her digital life. By morning, Paige made her second big mistake. She filed an emergency motion claiming I was financially abusing Maya, demanding full access to all marital accounts. Victor, my lawyer, called around noon, still laughing. Evan, this is the most incompetent filing I've seen in 2 decades. She's asking for relief without even mentioning the post-nup or separate property. And the best part? She attached Maya's social posts as evidence of distress, including that celebration photo with Dean. She doesn't realize those same photos prove premeditation. Our counter was already in motion. 7 years of records, plus sanctions for wasting the court's time. By 3 o'clock, Hannah texted me, "Read everything. Holy crap. We need to talk." That night she called again, but her voice was different now. Colder, sharper, like someone who had finally seen behind the curtain. Dad, I went through Mom's phone. She left it at Aunt Paige's. Paige even gave me the passcode, thinking it would prove you were some kind of monster. But the texts? They go back 6 months. With Dean. Dad, she was planning this since last summer, talking about timing it for after your anniversary. Dean even helped her research your business accounts. It hit hard, but I'd suspected as much. I'm sorry you had to see that, kiddo. Her voice cracked, then hardened. And Aunt Paige, some of those messages are her coaching mom, telling her how to spin financial abuse, how to make you look controlling, so she could get more in the settlement. That's when I knew Hannah had chosen her line in the sand. Dad, I'm changing my emergency contact at school, and I want Mom removed from my financial aid and college fund access. Are you sure? Yes. She's been asking weird questions about your life insurance, about whether I knew anything about hidden money. I think she wanted to use me to get to you. The next day, Maya called Hannah 11 times. No answer. One voicemail, which Hannah forwarded straight to me. Sweetie, your father is brainwashing you. He's making me the villain when all I wanted was happiness after years of abuse. I'm your mother. You owe me better. Call me. But Hannah's response wasn't a callback. She changed her voicemail greeting. Hi, you've reached Hannah Whitman. If it's important, text me. Meanwhile, Paige's emergency motion didn't just fail. It was denied with prejudice. The judge ordered her to explain why she shouldn't be sanctioned for wasting the court's time. That's when Paige realized she was drowning and tried to pass Maya off to a real specialist. But by then, Maya couldn't afford one. And Paige's blunders had already sunk their entire strategy. And then there was Dean Marlowe. The self-styled golden boy with a quarterback smile and a used car lot soul. He'd built a life around poaching married women, promising them escape, then vanishing when reality got expensive. Tyler had pulled his records from years ago. Maya wasn't his first, or even his second. She was his third. Same pattern every time. Charm. Coach the exit. Cash in during the chaos. Then disappear. This time, though, he thought he'd hit the jackpot. An older woman with shaky finances, married to a boring accountant who'd fold like the cliches he saw on TV. Only this wasn't a movie, and I wasn't playing the role he expected. The knock came like a drumbeat. Dean Marlowe, you've been served. A thick envelope. Court seal pressed sharp. My name stamped as plaintiff. In 3 seconds flat, his cocky grin froze into something closer to fear. The claims weren't about heartbreak. They read like a corporate takedown. Intentional interference, marital fraud, calculated manipulation. And exhibits? That's where the real story unfolded. Exhibit A digital forensics report, his texts, dating app trails, social media footprints, all pointing to the same pattern. Married women with assets. Coach the exit. Bleed them dry. He'd done it before twice, and now those families were ready to testify. Exhibit B, the money trail. Financial records proving he'd been riding my investments, paying discounted rent on a property linked to me. 18 grand saved while he plotted with Maya to raid my accounts. And Exhibit C, the kill shot. Legal recordings. Dean and Maya whispering about how to stretch the settlement, hide the assets, time the betrayal. Illinois is a one-party consent state, and every call told a story in their own voices. I wasn't asking the court for sympathy. I was asking them to set precedent. That this wasn't romance gone wrong. It was fraud wrapped in love letters. Dean panicked. He texted Maya, "What is this lawsuit? You said it was handled." Hours later, her reply came cold. "Can't talk. Dealing with my own legal problems." That's when it hit him. He was alone in a game he didn't understand. His lawyer laid it out like a death sentence. This isn't family court. They're treating you like a con artist. Best case, you settle for 6 figures and agree to stop targeting married women. Worst case, a public trial that brands you a professional homewrecker, a fraudster for the world to Google forever. Meanwhile, Maya was unraveling. Evicted from Dean's place, locked out of my home, hiding in her sister's basement at 45. Instead of facing reality, she built a Facebook group, Financial Abuse Survivors, ranting that I'd stolen her life. But her own posts sank her deeper. Every word was another confession, that she'd left voluntarily, that she hadn't read the papers she'd signed, that she thought marriage was some kind of entitlement program. The internet gave its verdict in real time. Her rants drew 3 likes and a tidal wave of comments mocking her logic. My favorite? After she whined, "Marriage is 50-50, someone replied, "Ma'am, this is a Wendy's." 200 likes. In the courtroom, her sister's sloppy filings collapsed. Sanctions loomed. Dean cracked under pressure, settling for $275,000 plus my fees, signing a promise to stay away from married women altogether. Maya stayed in that basement, posting motivational quotes to an audience that tuned in just a laugh. Page's law practice? Under review. But the real victory wasn't the money. It was Hannah, my daughter, calling twice a week, thriving at Northwestern, telling me she wants to specialize in asset protection. She saw through the lies, chose truth, and cut ties with the chaos. And me? Same house, same car, same portfolio. Every Friday, coffee with Tyler, laughing over the latest Maya Chronicles that Hannah forwards. The newest gem. Still can't believe my ex would rather be alone than share with someone who loved him unconditionally. Top reply. Conditional love based on assets isn't unconditional. 400 likes. In the end, the sweetest revenge wasn't rage. It was designing my life so carefully, so deliberately, that anyone who tried to burn it down ended up choking on the smoke of their own fire.